Sponsored by Centavos. Keep more of your money.
Welcome back to Ask Sloan. I'm Sloan.
I'm Ben.
What are we talking about today, Ben?
So, this is one of our classics, our mentor-mentee podcast, man, how it all began. So
I love it.
I wanted to start by asking you, just as an entrepreneur, knowing that you have so much on your mind and knowing that you need to be a family man, you have other responsibilities, you have personal development. How do you go about managing all of these things while also keeping yourself whole, not going ballistic and losing your mind?
Man, that's a good question. It's a good question. So in the last episode, we kind of talked about, me being on fire and like ADHD and like all over the place. And I gotta be real honest with you. Like it took an extreme amount of effort to begin to control every aspect of my being. Right. And I had a lot, like I said, I read a ton of like self-help books. I've done several Tony Robbins programs. Chet Holmes did a mastery class with Tony Robbins. And I learned a whole lot from this guy. He was one of Charlie Munger's generals. Okay, he ran 9 companies for Charlie Munger, and he really started to help me understand time management from. I don't know what the perspective is, but just really how to like really manage time. I wouldn't even say that I do it the way that he suggests. I don't really know, but just really kind of learning about it helped me to kind of develop my own strategy behind it. So what I do is whatever's in front of me, I give 100% my all. Okay. And even though last episode I was talking about like, hey, I got all these other things firing in my brain, but they're just firing back there. But my focus and my attention is right here on what I'm doing right now. Okay. As an example, today, I went from meeting to meeting and project to project, like all day. I probably touched 12 different things. Okay. But when I was on each one of those things, I was hyper focused on that thing and getting that thing to a certain place, a certain place to be able to move on. Right.
Yeah.
I've got 7 different things going, and I can't just do one of them. I got to do all of them.
Yeah.
But I got to get all of them from here to here. So I'm going to focus on this bonfire first, and I'm going to get it to here. Then I'm going to focus on this bonfire. And then for me, how that works is really scheduling. Okay. So what meetings do I have today? And then what work do I need to complete that's on a time clock today? And that's the work I'm doing in between the meetings. Okay.
Okay.
And then for me, like I know a bunch of people that are slaves to their calendars. Okay. And I have no problem with that. Like if that's how you manage your time, great. Use your calendar, get calendared up, have that thing be the thing that like moves you from here to here to here to here. The thing with me is that a lot of people that are slaves to calendars, most of their job is communication, sales, things like that. I do a lot of like real, like I'm not gonna call it real work. I do a lot of like physical work, not with my hands, but with my brain. Like I'm doing a lot of accounting. I'm doing a lot of tax returns. I'm doing a lot of business plans. I'm doing a lot of loan packages. I'm doing a lot of I'm preparing a lot of documents, a lot of the time. Okay. And I never write an entire document in one sitting. Okay. I do it to a point, and then I schedule time to do it again. And I'm constantly reorganizing my day because it's getting interrupted. Okay. So I have a focus on time management, and I have a focus on what I'm doing right now. Now, when I'm done with this right now, then I'm going to take a minute, and I call it a 7-minute process. I'm going to take a minute. I'm going to breathe a little bit. okay, I used to smoke cigarettes, right? So I would go outside and smoke a cigarette. That would be my little 7-minute process. And in that 7 minutes, I would smoke that cigarette. I would pray. I would think about the next 5 things that I need to do and which one's the most important to do right now. And then I would go back in and do it. Well, I don't smoke cigarettes no more. And I 100% recommend that you quit right now if you do. Okay.
Yeah.
How
And even worse is smoking those
vape
e-vapes.
whatever. Oof.
Apparently they have like aerosol in them.
No, small tangent. I have a friend whose teenager just got put in the hospital on life support because of that.
Wow.
Unbelievable. But anyways, so I don't do that anymore, but I do take the time to step away. Okay. Recenter, refocus. You can meditate. You can do yoga. Okay. Tony Robbins talks about changing your state. I totally believe in this. Remember we talked about last episode how your emotions are hormones?
Yeah.
You can change your state by drinking a cold glass of water. You can change your state, meaning the way you feel. You can change the way you feel by drinking a cold glass of water. You can change the way you feel by getting in a sauna for 15 minutes. You can change the way you feel by drinking a Red Bull. You can change the way you feel by drinking a Budweiser. You can, you have all these different options. Okay. So instead of like donuts and coffee and cigarettes, okay, like pick some healthy options. Okay. Eat some strawberries, a little sparkling water, and go for a walk. Okay, whatever. But the point is like do something that changes the chemical makeup in your body to refresh from what just happened and reorganize your thoughts for peace before you do the next thing.
Interesting. One thing that you touched on that's I think is super important is being present. The way that you described it, where you said that you had a lot of things playing, but they're in the background. When I was in college, one of the things that I tried for myself was mindfulness. Through Headspace, right? So there's this app called Headspace where you can practice meditation, mindfulness. And one of the first things that I did, right, one of the first walkthroughs was imagine yourself on a highway, right? And when you're in the middle of a highway, you have the cars in front of you going super fast, the cars behind you going super fast, and then going in different directions. And you might feel overwhelmed because of everything that's happening. And that's the equivalent of like all of the thoughts in your head and the way that you can't stop those thoughts because those thoughts are rapid firing back and forth all over the place. But what you want to do is essentially step out of the highway, step behind it, and then just watch the thoughts pass. Right? Where you don't necessarily feel like you're in the middle of the thoughts, but you can observe them objectively. And you can say like, I understand now what is happening. And this is happening outside of myself. And it's not something that's happening necessarily to me. Right. And so I think that what you touched on, that presence and just making sure that you are present in that moment is extremely important. And I resonate with what you're saying about like having those thoughts rapid fire in the back of your head. And then the other thing is just prioritization. I think that that's really difficult nowadays because of the simple fact that there's so many distractions happening all the time. And so since there's so many distractions, it's like, okay, I want to do this, right? But I want to feel this, but I want to attain that, right? But I want to be with this person. And so it's difficult kind of to prioritize at times what is actually important or what should be important.
Well, I mean, that's major, Ben. Okay. Major. And it took me years to figure that out. Okay. But here's the simple steps. Okay. And if you want to write this down at home, okay, it'll serve you well. Okay. Step number 1 is you really need to know what it's going to take to accomplish your goals. Okay. And that's assuming you have goals. Okay. So if you don't have any goals, then you're going nowhere. You can fully expect to go absolutely nowhere. There are some gurus out there like goals are for dummies or whatever, like whatever. Okay. Whatever you want to call them and label them, you need to know where you're going. You need to set a finish line. Okay. And then you need to work backwards. Okay. I talk about understanding or knowing the end from the beginning. Okay. And that's a characteristic of God, right? That he knows the end from the beginning. Okay. And I don't even pretend to be able to do that, but that's what I'm trying to accomplish. Okay. I'm trying to figure out what is the end. Okay. And then build the machine that gets me to the end. Okay. So
Wow.
if I don't know the tasks necessary to achieve the result, then that's step number one. Figure out what you need to be able to do to get this result done. And then that's the objective. Anything outside of those things is the noise. Okay. Is the distraction. Okay. And then you got to have that self-control. Again, it took me a long time to figure out that I'm in control of those thoughts. I'm in control of those feelings. I'm in control of my attitude. Okay. And attitude is a major place to start. If you got a victim mentality, you have a woe is me attitude, you're going nowhere because everything seems like it's beating you up. That's the glass half empty versus the glass is half full. So you definitely got to maintain that right attitude, but you got to know what you need to do next in order to accomplish the goal. And you have to give yourself rest when you're overwhelmed. And so you have to plan for the distractions, right? You don't have do you have your phone on you right now?
Yeah, it's back here.
Man, you're not supposed to have your phone on
All
you
right,
right now.
Okay.
But that's the point. Like, I don't have my phone on me right now. Why? Because if it went off, that would distract me from this conversation.
I think it's because you didn't grow up with phones.
What?
I'm just kidding.
He's aging me over here, y'all. It's crazy. Hey, it's honestly because I don't want it to interrupt our podcast, right?
I respect.
And so out of self-control, and don't get me wrong, I have my phone on me all the time. My wife hates it. Okay. I'm not holier than thou. Okay. But the point is if distractions are your problem, set your phone down, turn it off, focus on the things that need to happen. I don't, even if I'm getting text messages and emails, I am not responding to them when I'm in the middle of doing accounting. I know it happened because I need to know it happened just in case there's a crisis because I handle crisis management all the time. But if it's not a crisis, it's just a distraction, I just keep going. Work on what matters, okay? And then schedule that time to rest. Get that 7-minute process down so where you can refresh yourself quickly and then get on to the next. I mean, this is if you want to be a highly effective individual. You know what I mean? If not, then just go about life however, you know what I mean? But if you really want to achieve, great things and very difficult things, then you got to have a lot of self-control and you got to make that plan and adjust that plan as things come up.
So that brings us back to that noise. What did you call it? Noise versus
Well, Mr. Wonderful's got this thing called noise versus signal out there.
Signal,
And I love it. He worked with and for Steve Jobs for a long time. So
yeah.
So he draws this analogy between Steve and Elon Musk. And Steve was 80% signal and 20% noise. Okay.
Yeah.
So Steve's deal was you need to be focused on the next 3 things that you need to accomplish in the next 18 hours. Okay. Tony Robbins has a thing where it's like you can only do 6 things a day. So pick your top 3 and do those first.
Yeah.
And that's how you move the needle. That's how you create massive action. Okay. And then the noise is all those distractions and things like that. Mr. Wonderful will tell you that Elon Musk is like 0% noise and 100% signal. He'll literally walk away from you if you start talking about something that's not relevant for him in that moment. God. Like it's pretty serious. And as I understand it, Steve wasn't a super nice guy either, but I think I'm kind of nice. You know what I mean? I'll stick around for just a minute.
You stick around, but you have to be thinking about it.
And then I'll give you a hug and be like, I gotta go, yo. That's what's up, But
so speaking of distraction, right? I think that part of that distraction is not just the things that are occurring around you, but things that are directly happening to you, right? So I have a lot of friends that, in the past year or so, they've had a lot of things that they've had to contend with, things that are happening to them. And, that has the potential of knocking you off your path. So, I'm assuming that because you're an entrepreneur, right? And you have multiple businesses, there's constantly things that you need to contend with as well. So how do you prevent those things from interfering and knocking you off your path?
Well, it's really about understanding the effect that this thing is going to have. Okay. So again, if a hurricane is coming, you have to deal with that.
Okay.
Okay. But if the dog is barking next door, then you need to ignore it. Okay. So you need to understand what crises are really not crisis and what crisis you have to attend to. Okay. So in a business, in my opinion, customer service is a crisis. Okay. So I need my customers to give me 5-star reviews. I need them to tell other people to use my services. I need them to be speaking good about me in the community because word of mouth advertising is the number one. So if I have a customer that's unhappy, it doesn't matter if they should be unhappy or if I made a mistake or didn't make a mistake. Like it doesn't matter why they're unhappy. They're unhappy. And I'm going to literally drop everything and I'm going to deal with that unhappiness right now because that unhappiness will destroy my business. Okay. However, if it's a customer that is always unhappy and that's just who they are is Mr. Unhappy Customer. Okay. I'm going to learn what it takes to make them happy and get them off their deal and whatever. And if they're interrupting what I'm doing, I'm going to tell them, hey, I hear you and I feel you and I'm going to be back to you. I'm going to push that off to another time. I'm not going to ignore them. I'm not going to ghost them. I'm not going to that, but I'm going to figure out how to move that distraction to a place that I can deal with it. Right. Okay. So identifying what actually matters. Okay. And I got to a place in one of my projects where I used the spinning plate analogy. Everybody's seen like that guy that comes up with sticks, right? And spins the plates. Yeah. And he gets like 12 of them going or something. And like, he starts running around and keeping them going. And it's like, that's how I felt like, oh my, like, I'm just like, and this one's going to fall and oh my goodness, I got to run over here.
Go and spin
it. Yeah. So, At one moment, I was so overwhelmed. I just let them all fall, bro. I stepped back and I let them all fall.
Wow.
And you know what the amazing thing was about that? The ones that mattered didn't fall. It was almost like the Lord was spinning them for me. Okay.
Why do you think that is?
Like, I can't verify that or validate that, but that's just what happened. Okay. And the ones that didn't matter, they fell and they broke and somebody got a broom and swept them up or something. I mean, it saved my life that I was able to let so much of that go. Okay. And I did a lot of crisis management when I first became an entrepreneur. Okay. Because most small businesses are in crisis, right? Like I'm running out of money. I don't know what to do. I can't make payroll. I can't this, blah, blah, blah. And like when you deal with an entrepreneur that is full of anxiety and glass is half empty and like they're overwhelmed and like it becomes like you take on their problem. It's really difficult, right? Okay, but I had to come up with solutions for this. Okay, and I told one of my clients, I was like, look, the beautiful thing is that the world doesn't end. Like the end of the world never comes. Like it feels like the end of the world right now. Like we could turn on Fox News or CNN and like it's tomorrow. It's all over. Right. But that's every day. If it's not the pandemic or the war in Afghanistan or the war in Ukraine or the war in Israel or Donald Trump being president or Kamala becoming president or Joe Biden being ill or whatever, like no matter what it is, it's the end of the world right now. Right now is the end of the world. Well, turn the TV off, bro.
Yeah.
How many crises have we been? How many have we been in your lifetime?
Oh man, I think the first crisis where I was aware it was a crisis was Ebola, and it wasn't necessarily even a crisis. It was like this mass media hysteria that it almost feels like they're trying to put on people, right? And so that was the first one I was aware of, and I grew up in New Jersey, so the next one I want to say was like Sandy Hook, which that one was actually terrible.
Well, okay. Yeah. So first of all, let's note that tragedies happen and we are 100% sensitive to that. We just had one here in Texas, flooding, fires, like all that tragedy happens. Okay. Yeah. People do die. Like I'm not saying that tragedy doesn't happen and that there are not of course real crises that people have to pay attention to. Absolutely. But if you're not in that tragedy, if tragedy is not affecting you right now, then don't let the tragedy affect you. Okay. Yeah. Right. Like we can all cry for the people who need tears. Okay. Yeah. But at the same time, your best way to fight against that stuff is to be the best you can be and accomplish what you need to accomplish and then give back. Yeah. Right. Okay. So if you're not actually in tragedy, then stop feeling like it's the end of the world. Okay. Instead, prioritize what is necessary to take the next step. We all want to be out of the house that's on fire right now, but you got to take step 1 and then step 2. And then sometimes you got to stop, drop and roll and you got to do that. Like everything's a process. So figure out the process and do it. you're wasting time being emotional about it. Okay. That doesn't mean there isn't time to have emotions. We do have to have emotions and process feelings. I've had a lot of trauma in my life. I had to process a lot of trauma to get to a place where I could know the difference when someone hits me in the face with a baseball bat, whether or not I need to pay attention to it or just keep walking.
Wow. So I think that one of the things you touched on that's really important, and the people back home should make sure that they, even rewind this and go back to, is just making sure that the crisis in your life is actually the crisis in your life. Right. And so, like, there's a lot of things around us, a lot of chaos in the world. And a lot of that chaos, when we look into the media and we look into, other outlets, it's almost meant to arouse in you a feeling, right? Like you talked about, like having control over those emotions. But then once you identify what is affecting you and what's not, actually working backwards and then understanding, all right, well, if this is affecting me, then what is the end goal? The end goal might be for it to not affect me anymore. So what can I do today? I can do this. And I think that in and of itself can bring peace, right? Because you did as much as you know that you can do today, and everything outside of that you can't control is anxiety, right? And so, like, how do you deal with anxiety once you do the things that you knew that you could, but you're kind of afraid for the future a little bit?
Man, positive self-talk. It sounds extremely simple, but the truth is, if the tape in your head is absolute terribleness, that's what's going to happen. So you've got to stop that tape in your head. Okay. My tape in my head between 14 and 19 was terrible. Terrible. There was not one positive, not one directional, not one anything. Self-esteem in the trash, self-worth in the trash, didn't want to be here, didn't want to do anything, just nothing. Okay. Terribleness, nothing but fear and loathing in Las Vegas, bro. I mean,
Wow.
like just terribleness. And it wasn't until like all the self-help books I talked about, it's like, you got to change the tape in your head. You've got to start telling yourself the truth. The world's got plenty of victims.
Yeah.
It needs more heroes.
Yeah.
And you need to be your own hero first. So get rid of that terrible tape. Okay. And if that means putting on, positive music or what, like really start to pay attention to what's going in you. Okay.
Yeah.
And if you got a terrible tape playing, then you shouldn't be watching like true crime.
Yeah.
Okay. You shouldn't be ingesting music that is tearing you and society down. You shouldn't be paying attention to conspiracy theory. Like you should, like if you got a terrible tape, you should be focused on changing that tape to being a hero, to conquer life. Okay. To move forward and you're going to get what you put out. So if your tape is terrible, then you're going to put out terrible, and then you're going to get terrible. And it's just going to be this cycle. Okay?
Yeah.
And we all know somebody that's in that cycle. Well, the only way to get them out of that cycle is to slap them with some cold water and tell them, look, Jesus loves you, bro. Come on. Like change that tape. So self-talk is huge. Like it is the number one thing that you got to do. And the reason why I say self-talk is because that terrible tape, you can't just take it out and you have to replace it. So if that terrible tape says, hey, you're no good, you have to be like, nah, that's a lie.
Yeah.
No, I am good. What am I good at? I'm good at math. I'm good at what you have to take action to replace the negative energy inside you. You have to replace it. You have to tell it to go away.
Yeah.
And it seems simple, man, but stand in front of the mirror and tell yourself that you're good enough. Yeah. It's a joke in a lot of circles, but it's the truth. Like positive affirmations are huge. What's everybody doing at the gym? Huh? What are they doing? How many flipping mirrors are at the gym?
Yeah.
Okay. What are they doing? They're working out, then they're looking at themselves in the mirror in the gym, giving themselves positive affirmations. Hopefully some of them are probably tearing themselves down, but stop tearing yourself down. If that's what you're doing, be the hero you need.
That reminds me of this David Goggins book I read. I'm sure everybody knows it, but essentially he's regurgitating to himself these positive affirmations, even when he's doing things that like to others seem humanly impossible, right? Whether he's going through the Navy SEAL training or whether he's running these like 1 billion mile marathons, right? Where his feet become nubs.
Unbelievable.
And he's just regurgitating to himself these positive affirmations over and over. And I resonate with that a lot because I've been in times in my life where everybody around me tells me, no, you're not going to be able to do this. They tell me, well, you're ridiculous. They'll laugh at me, right? They'll say like, how dare you even think this about yourself? But the fact is like you block that out and you just keep regurgitating that positivity to yourself.
Do you know the rapper NF?
NF?
NF.
No.
Okay, so there's this rapper NF. And my girls started listening to him, and I love him. And he's got this line that says, if you look at yourself in the mirror and say you're never going to be enough, then you're never going to be enough. Like you literally, like if you want to be great, you got to tell yourself you're great. Like being great is being great. It's not something you achieve. It's something you are.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
Like achievement is one thing, but you have to be great to achieve. So be great. And being great is a mindset. It's an attitude. It's not something that you become. It's something that you choose to be.
Yes, sir. And with that, we're going to leave you guys.
So tip for this episode, be great.
Be great. Thank you guys, and like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.